In the making of this film, I hope I can show you the relationship you can have with a superb hunting raptor, the Imprint goshawk. The film will cover the biography of 1 female and 3 male northern goshawks over a period of 4 years. My female Shigra is the foundation of this film, as she inspired me to make it. Nomad was the first hawk that was steady enough to fly in a cast, but sadly we have now lost him to the wild. Buzz is the son of Shigra and the first goshawk to be tame hacked and flown in a cast with Nomad. And finally Bo, who was fostered by Shigra and also tame hacked. Bo's main talent is waiting on at 1,000 feet before stooping like a falcon. My garden is where most of the juvenile behaviour is filmed, and the tame hacking begins in part 2. As you see, there are also 2 long wings blocked out on the lawn, where the imprint chick will interact at a later stage. After watching starlings taking rosemary to their nest, I decided to line the inner cup of my hawk's nest with rosemary to act as an antibacterial to protect the eggs. Not to startle my hawk, I always whistle before entering the aviary, and when inside I also use this sound to interact with her. I've used this sound from a chick and throughout her adult life. The relationship you have with your imprint female is very special, and to be her partner is a great privilege. From now on I will give her lots of attention, touching, stroking, whistling and nest building. Throughout her duration of breeding, I will be there to build the nest, court her, inseminate her, monitor the eggs and the welfare of her chicks. This is the time when you must observe your female's body language and be ready to inseminate her to fertilize the first egg. You have to spend lots of time in and out of the aviary with small food presents when courting and observing your hawk. Keep the nest tidy and bring in small twigs to weave into the frame. This will help to stimulate your female. Shigra is not quite ready for insemination, as her coverts under her tail are not flared out enough, and she's not standing when touched. She's becoming very tame and just a day or 2 away from insemination, but first I'll have to collect the semen. Now, there are many imprint goshawks giving semen. Angelo Canape, who lives near Taunton, Somerset, had the first semen donors in my area, and his hawks covered many females, including my own. A close friend of mine, Pete Bowyer, is demonstrating how to collect semen from his male goshawk, Gus. He is using a sterile glove with no antibacterial agent in it. He will now collect the semen off his glove to be placed in the refrigerator until a donor is found. Or better still, he could transfer it straight into his own female. Pete Bowyer imprinted Gus 11 years ago. Gus has inspired many falconers throughout his life with dramatic flights and many kills. Shigra is becoming agitated with her nest. The final touches are done on comfort and hawk engineering before she will stand for insemination. You can now see how flared her covered feathers are. I always take food to the nest to give her a sense of bonding and security. She will also know that I am a good provider for her brood. Shigra is only hours away from insemination, and from now on I will enter the aviary with a syringe of semen. can hear, I have left the bells on. I do this for my own security. If she ever got out, I would have some chance of finding her. The bells do not interfere with the hatching of the eggs, and maybe it's an introduction for the chicks. Shigra is now receptive for insemination. I have to be dominant with her to make her stand. You can see by pushing her down, she will make herself available for insemination. After insemination, I will stay with her for a short time and keep her excited. This will help the fertility. Oh, that's a good girl, isn't she? Hey, good girl, good girl. We now have 3 eggs. I did have 4, but a small sharp stick pierced the nest cap and broke an egg. Even with this bad luck, I still think it's better to leave the eggs with the female.
Oh, good girl, good girl.
As you can hear, I am still whistling, chapping and talking to her. She will chap back and feel at ease. I will carry on bringing small pieces of rosemary to the nest and help to keep it tidy. Shigra looks forward to my visits. You can see how Shigra's body language has changed to a motherly, caring hawk. The gentleness of a hawk is remarkable as she maneuvers her body over her precious eggs and tucks them in. With an imprint, you are part of her life, and if you wreck the nest, she will divorce you, and that could be expensive. In this case, the eggs could be lost. She will get off the nest from time to time, but don't panic. This is natural, and she needs to have a stretch. Shigra is starting to molt, so as usual, a mixed diet is the healthiest. I use defrosted pigeon, chick, wild rabbit, turkey necks, grey squirrels, and any natural food that I come across. You can see how comfortable the nest cup can be with soft rosemary tips. The day has come when the first chick has hatched, and you can see how relaxed Shigra is. It's as if she wants to show me her new birth. The chick has taken 34 days to arrive from when Shigra decided to sit her eggs. It will always be a marvel to see such a small package of down turn into an incredible hunting partner. And for me, this is my first sight of Buzz, who has become a semen donor and a top-class hunting hawk. Shigra will now start to clean herself up and get rid of itchy old feathers. I keep close contact with Shigra and the new chick, as this will be a benefit later on. Hanging around the nest and interacting with your imprint is what you would do if you were a male goshawk, and Shigra loves it. The trust you build up during the nesting period is a thing of wonder, as Shigra lets me touch her new chick. Then I stroke Shigra for reassurance. To get to this stage, you need to be in touch with your hawk. Keep listening to people that have bred raptors. We can all learn. I am not what you would call a breeder, just an enthusiastic falconer. You must never let anyone go near your aviaries when your hawk is in breeding condition or has eggs or chicks. You can see how relaxed Shigra is with me, but if anyone else came into view, she would crash around the aviary and put the fear factor into the new chick. Lindsay Graham, my camera girl, took the film of me inside the aviary. We had to be very careful that Shigra didn't see the camera lens poking through the aviary wall. There are 2 more eggs to hatch. I am a little worried because I couldn't get semen every day, and that is not enough. In an ideal world, your hawk should be inseminated 2 to 4 times per day. I can just see another egg pipping, and it won't be long before another chick joins us. The growth of a chick is remarkable. It almost grows in front of you. When the chick is 12 days old, I will then take it for imprinting. As a falconer, the pleasure I get out of my imprint hawks is very rewarding, and in part 1 and part 2 of the imprint goshawk you can see why. I cannot emphasize the importance of keeping all humans away from the aviary. The chick is now out and active, and the last thing you want is the hawk crashing around the aviary and passing that information on to the chick. There is no problem with my dogs wandering around outside, as Shigra sees them as part of her life, as she was imprinted with the dogs. It is important to know the history of your chick before you buy it for imprinting at 12 days old. Your chick could have had all sorts of bad experiences before you bought it. Shigra relies on me now more than ever, and as I touch her, I cannot comprehend that this is the same hawk that takes no prisoners during the hunting season. No imprints are put in danger with this form of breeding and insemination. Several friends of mine have had more than one male killed by a female goshawk in a breeding aviary. It only takes 7 days out of the aviary for Shigra to be flying free and catching game. We now have 2 chicks, and as you can see, I've been busy with more nesting material as the rosemary dries off after a time and melts into the nest. Keeping the nest tidy is inborn to every good mother. In the wild, all eggs and chicks perish without good parenthood. The inspiration to make this film came from shots like these that I knew others would love to see. You are drawn in to the life in a nest of a goshawk, and your human lifestyle is put on hold. These close-up shots were hard to film. First I had to get Shigra used to the camera, then hold it in one hand above her with the viewer angled down to see what I was filming. It was well worth it. You can see the tiny amount of food that is given to the chicks with no castings on, but fed with precision. From the very beginning, I will always show and use my bare hands. A good imprint will always recognize that hands are part of you and not a threat or food. See how Shigra eats the sharp bony pieces of quail and castings to protect the chicks from choking. I will spend 15 to 20 minutes 3 times a day in the aviary with Shigra and the chicks until I take my chick for imprinting. As I thought, the third egg was not fertile and was sadly removed. It's a great plus if you have your own semen donor male. Shigra has now finished feeding the chicks. Now it's her turn to clean up and feed. In the next clip I shall deal briefly with dual imprinting. Dual imprinting means an imprint mother and yourself will bring up the chick in the aviary together by taking food to the nest. The imprint mother will not pass on the fear factor that a parent red hawk would have. The chick will be taken out when hard penned and placed in an aviary, then trained like a parent red hawk. The chick will not scream, and when mature, the hawk will stand for insemination like a true imprint. There is no aggression shown towards me when feeding the chick. The chick spends most of the time with its mother, so my input is very small but effective. This chick has grown up into a fine female goshawk that doesn't scream and stands for insemination, and Mike Thomas, a friend of mine, flies her. The chick is 9 days old and ready for ringing. This is the first time the chick has been picked up, so care is needed. The female ring will go on easy, but the male ring is much smaller. I use washing up liquid to lubricate the chick's foot, ready for the male ring. Then with care, slide the ring on. If you place the rings on too early, you will be looking for them in the nest the next day, or begging the authorities to send on another set. If you leave the ringing too late, you will find the chick's foot has grown, and the rings will not go on. I find it essential that the ringing takes place at 8 to 9 days old. After the ringing, the chick is taken back to the nest to settle down with the parent. The parent hawk is very important in the making of an imprint, as I found out when Shigra fostered 2 orphans, one of which was Bo. In the first 3 days of fostering, the chicks wouldn't settle down as they were already wedded to a human. You may think this is a good thing, but I found the continuity of mother and chick broken, and this could give problems when an adult for breeding. In 3 days, the chick will be 12 days old and ready to be socially imprinted. But first there are a few things to prepare: food and the indoor nest. I find it easy to finely chop 1 skinned quail with no castings, then place it in a plastic bag, seal it, then store it in the fridge. and when needed, take a third of chopped quail, place it in another plastic bag, flatten it out, then place it in hot water until warm, not hot. You can then place the food on an earthenware flower pot drip mat that will be heavy enough and small enough to place in the nest. The chick is brought into its new environment where it will live for 35 to 40 days. It is very important to warm the nest up before placing the chick in. I use a wheat bag that can be warmed up in the microwave. I also find that soft lilandii branch tips are the ideal nesting material that has a fresh fragrance and is easy to keep clean. At 12 days old, the chick will instantly feed. You must keep fresh food in the nest at all times, without the chick seeing where it came from. There are lots of ways to place food into the nest. I find the easiest is to use a sheet of cardboard, place it between the chick and the dish, then refill the dish. Or you can replace the food when the chick is asleep. I do think that this food-related connection needs more research and is not so important as once I thought. As you see, after eating, the chick will cuddle up to the warm wheat bag, which is comforting and easy to keep clean. And now start to whistle when the chick is feeding or when I come into the room. This is the first step of training. I used to use a child's swimming pool to catch the moots that came out of the nest, but that wasn't good enough, as some moots still managed to go out onto the carpet. This is a better innovation thanks to my old pal Jim French, and it's called an imprint pen because it catches all the moots and is very easy to make. Now you can live in peace with your family with the thought that all the mess is contained within the pen. Taking the food to the nest is easy when the chick is asleep. Now the social imprinting begins. You can take your nest anywhere, and I like to spend my time outside in the sun. But remember, you must look after your chick at all times. The umbrella keeps the strong sun and wind away from harming your chick. Dogs are a vital part in imprinting, and your chick will also imprint on your dogs. Shigra, my female, will call when in condition if she sees either one of my pointers. The chick is now 18 days old and standing up exercising its wings and eating approximately 1 quail per day. The chick will now be given whole quail for castings. At 28 days you will start to have some fun. Your chick will begin to use its feet to kill imaginary prey, and this is the time I would attach a small bell on a buoy to its leg. You must keep an eye on your young hawk at all times. It is so adventurous that it can get into all sorts of trouble at any time. I have now moved the nest and table onto the lawn to give the chick a new experience. Watching the dogs play and a different viewpoint will make him more confident. Having unusual pets shouldn't spoil an evening with friends. It will help the social imprinting of a chick when other humans play with him, but this must be supervised. At 33 days, your chick should be strong enough to stand on one leg. He is then ready for his anklets, and from now on I will refer to him as a young hawk or brancher. Placing anklets on your young hawk is very easily done, but take care not to alarm him, as he will be bowed out shortly for his own sake. More security is added by fastening a second bell. I do this with a cable tie that is passed through a small hole in the anklet, just above the eyelet. As you see, you don't have to cast your hawk. Just take your time and have an experienced handler with you. From chick to hawk, this is a crossover period from down to feather. You will see your hawk grow in front of you. It is that quick. You can see how relaxed the young hawk is, and this is a good sign that we are heading in the right direction in the making of a social imprint. The young hawk is not bowed down yet, but left to perch in the garden. Pheasants will often walk past my young hawk whilst perched. It's as if they know the hawk is young and fed up. At 33 days, his eyes are still bluey grey, but within 6 days they will start to turn yellow. A goshawk is a natural-born killer, and there is no need to use live quarry in the nest or to stimulate your hawk. Your hawk will chase the first pheasant or rabbit it sees, if your hawk is fit and hungry. When entering your hawk, you must try and match him to young quarry, as this is a natural process. If possible, young rabbits or pheasants are ideal. The law will be introduced at 35 days and all of his food tied to it, with the bow perch placed beside the nest. 37 days your hawk is bowed out. He can also live in a safe open aviary. Never put your young hawk in a closed-in aviary, as an imprint likes to interact with people. It will take a day or so for your hawk to get used to being tied down. The lure is a powerful tool that is not used enough with short wings. In part 2 of the Imprint Goshawk, you will see how to train your hawk in mountain areas to wait on by using the lure. But first we'll have to train our young hawk by placing his food on the lure, and when he goes to eat it, give it a little tug and wait for his response. When he attacks it, gently tug it again, but always let him win. Then he can gorge himself on the lure. Footing the lure is becoming an art. The more games you play, the wiser the hawk. Whistling will help to stimulate your hawk, and he will always know when you're around. I fly my short wings and long wings with permanent flying jesses that are part of the anklet, and if I lose a hawk, Joe Public can identify it with leather straps hanging from its legs. Buzz's maiden flight was one great flight for a hawk and one great landing for a falconer looking on. After a walkabout and a flap, Buzz will always head back to his nest, as now he spends most of the day outside. Now you can set up perches so your hawk can practice landing and flying home to his nest. At this stage you can take your young hawk for short walks on the fist, but make sure he is well supported and walk slowly. Your hawk will chatter to you until he gets his confidence. Take your hawk and show him some open land. As a woodland raptor, he will also need to be confident in these areas. Don't forget the big feed on the lure every day, as your hawk is still growing and the lure will become a magnet. If you are lucky enough to have a tree in your garden, then put your hawk there for an hour or two, or find a quiet spot with a tree. Buzz will always fly back from this tree to his nest, where there is always food waiting. The idea of this is to get your hawk used to trees at an early age. Up until now, he's been in the nest on your floor, in the house, and not in his natural habitat. The lure is still playing a vital part in enticing your hawk to his food. The lure is becoming his main prey as he watches it move before attacking it. Once again I will tug the lure to imitate prey. I will now leave him feed up on the lure in peace. This is where most people fail with an imprint. He is now 40 days old and what I call the teenage tantrum age. He has just started to scream and shows bravado, as Lindsay, our camera girl, strokes him and shows him no fear. At this age, you must not read his body language as aggression. He is only trying to make himself look tough. I will bring Buzz into the house now and again, as he is part of our family, and after a busy day, he will settle down. The television has always been a fascination to Buzz, as it was his company if I had to go out. There are other ways of imprinting, but I like this close connection with my hawk. You can now see the relationship of dogs and hawk. The teenager is totally relaxed whilst feeding on the lure, and the dogs have seen it all before. This is Buzz taking his first bath, and it is quite comical, as you can see him doing the motions before he gets in. If I zoomed back with my camera, you would see that I have an electric fence around my lawn where it protects my hawks from foxes or a stray dog. I bought it after spotting a fox walking up to one of my longwings. Thankfully, I got there first. I have seen bow in Scotland jump into a small river and swim downstream bathing. I have also seen wood pigeons jump into my pond on hot days and swim to the bank using their wings as paddles, so all birds like a good bath. When placing your bath out for your hawk, remember that your hawk needs time to dry off before nightfall, so late morning is a good time to bath. I had to cut 12 minutes off this clip, as at one time I thought he would drown himself. He just couldn't get enough, the water kept stimulating him and he just kept going back. We are coming to the end of part 1, the film The Imprint Goshawk. Part 2 will show you tame hacking, tail mount without casting, following on techniques, training your hawk to wait on, flying your hawk in mountains, flying a cast of goshawks, and hunting with your hawk and dogs. I hope you have enjoyed this film, and I would like to thank my camera girl Lindsay Graham, who has filmed the majority of what you have seen. After his bath, Buzz will return to his familiar spot, the table on our patio, where his imprint nest is placed. This is his territory, where he will be tame hacked. I shall now leave you with a few clips from the Imprint Goshawk Part 2. Your young hawk is now a social imprint. We've come through this mystical period with ease. This is a method of imprinting that I use, and if you keep to it, you shouldn't go wrong. As a falconer, you should recognize that all hawks are different in character, and my method of imprinting is a framework to build on. As falconers, we have all had trials and tribulations. I have lost hawks through all sorts of accidents and malicious people, but if we didn't fly them, we would not lose them. The hawk would be in an aviary prison for life, and the spirit of falconry would die there with it.